So here in Nova Scotia, we were just recently devastated by Hurricane Fiona. Anytime anybody talks about hurricanes in Nova Scotia, they usually refer to Hurricane 1. Power was out for a prolonged period of time. Folks were without money who relied on debit and didn't withdraw cash. Roads were closed. There was flooding. Hurricane 1 was considered a Category 2 hurricane. It had winds of between 130 kilometers an hour and 176 kilometers an hour. Hurricane Fiona, on the other hand, was a Category 3 hurricane, and it had winds from 120 kilometers an hour up to 195 kilometers an hour. The damage from Fiona has been extensive. Places are still recovering. Many are still without power. This is how the last 6 days have been for me. Okay, this is just following Hurricane Fiona. We're just checking the damage out in our property. Looks like our gate fell. So far, I think we might be lucky, but our pool's full of leaves. The fence is still up. Here, come on. Looks like the kid's slide was ripped off. We're gonna go check out the neighborhood because I've already noticed that a bunch of trees fell across the road. So, go down there. I want to walk down and see like down the road. Yeah, let's just go right under here. See, you have to be careful, like, if this was touching the power lines, you could get electrocuted through the tree. If the tree was on the power lines and going to the ground, and you touched it, you could get electrocuted. You know, do ya? What? Crazy. Yeah, so far I've seen some shingles off the old fellow's house up there, but it's bad. Whew. So we're just in a walk around our block basically, and there's trees down everywhere. This is a cemetery we're passing right now. Just like, I can't even overstate how much the cleanup is going to be just ridiculous. Like, every yard has multiple trees down. Folks are missing their shingles and their siding, and this is just in our little neighborhood. We haven't even heard the news or found out like the widespread effect that this crazy hurricane has had, but Blakely and I are going to circle back around backside of our block back to home and then get some coffee and hopefully find out some information on just how bad this thing was. And I can't imagine we're going to have power back anytime soon. I'm guessing it's probably going to be a week. Coming? Wow. Yeah, normally when one of these hurricanes happens, you hear a couple trees down, you might see a neighbor, but this is like everybody has.
A tree don't care if it
Another huge limb ripped off. Well, I guess the silver lining to this is everybody's gonna have a bunch of free chopped up hardwood to burn. It's interesting that people are still driving their cars around. They explicitly say to stay off the roads. I know we're out walking, but driving your cars, like, you never know what you're going to come across. People are just coming out to see, I guess, but just like we are, but yeah. Your feet dry?
What?
So your feet dry?
Yeah.
All right, Blakely and I are going to swing around the back part of the block back up to our house, and going to get some coffee and try to help with the neighbors and getting some stuff cleaned up. But fingers crossed for us that everybody's okay. All right, so this is, we're on a day 3 of this hurricane. We're still without power. We got some of our stuff cleaned up. I fixed the fence. But yeah, no power for 3 days is not fun. Going to pick up some gas because I'm gonna borrow a generator from my folks. As you can see, the neighbor's power mast was ripped right off their house. So I think until the power company comes by and, you know, cleans the down wires to the neighboring houses, we probably assume we're not getting the power turned on anytime soon. But I'm gonna drive over to one of the only gas stations open in town and see if I can get some gas. Hopefully I don't have to wait in line forever, because I've been hearing rumors of people having to sit in line at gas stations for hours to get some gas, so I'm not really gonna do that. It's not as crucial for us to get gas as maybe it is for a lot of other folks. Luckily, my father-in-law has power, and now my parents recently had their power turned on, so we took our perishable food over to his place and put it in his freezer, and we filled up our water jugs, charged our phones and power banks and all that stuff, so things could be worse. Luckily for us, we have an in-ground pool that has tons of water, so we have lots of gray water for flushing the toilets, but we still need to go fill up our water jugs to cook or make coffee with or do some dishes with. So all that stuff, you know, becomes kind of tedious. And if you have to drive through town, you're looking at like backed up traffic, being routed for all the disaster cleanup, and it's just, you know, everybody wants to get out and just to get out of their house, or they just want to get out and they need to get some supplies, so everybody's thinking the same thing, and it's just it's still not fun, but you know, at least we can sit back and kind of collect our thoughts now. Yeah, so I got online on Facebook, and people were saying this gas station that I'm headed towards had gas this morning earlier, about an hour ago. So hopefully they still do, and hopefully it's not all backed right up. This is the first time I've been out this way. Look at the power lines down everywhere. Almost down, so it's pretty understandable as to why cleanup could take a while. So we're coming to the gas station now. It's up here on the left. I see a few people, but cars aren't lined up down the road, so I'm gonna pull in line and have to wait my turn, I guess. It is a lineup. I'm gonna end up holding up traffic, so I don't think I'm gonna sit here. See if there's another way I can get in without holding up everybody. All right, I'm gonna wait my turn and line up, I guess, or until I run out of patience.
Okay.
So I couldn't do a left turn back there after I finally got my gas. I waited for about 15 minutes. Wasn't too bad given the situation. No fights broke out or anything like that. People seem to have kind of a system, line up per pump, and some people cut in, and it's kind of hard to tell. A few old people jumped the line, but whatever, I guess. But leaving there, there's two main roads through this part of town. They run parallel to each other. I'm turning back onto this one, and the other one just has a massive tree, great big old maple or something that fell, and there's lots of trees down, as you've probably seen so far and guessed. They're hanging on power lines, and they're overhanging parts of the road, and people are diverting traffic to one side, one lane or another. But this is the first time I've seen on a main artery like a huge tree just completely blocking the whole street. So that's pretty crazy. Looks like they got something open here at the it's a grocery store here, drugstore, liquor store, that's a big one. You can get your beer, all this stuff. They must have generators running here, but this is the gas station I just left up here on the right. So I had to do a big loop around the block to get back home rather than the direct route because of a massive tree. And looks like we're gonna wait in line for a minute here just to let people come and go. Some of the people filling their gas jugs up, had like several in a pickup truck, probably getting them for their neighbors, or maybe they're doing some help with the cleanup or something, and they were getting, like, you'd think that you were gonna move ahead and be, next in line within like a few minutes, and it would take 10 minutes for a guy to fill like several massive jerry cans up, hundreds of dollars worth of fuel. All right, we're on to day 4, still no power. I got the generator for my folks. We had to get some more gas. Spencer's gonna help me do this impromptu water filter just to make kind of maybe water. It's good for washing the dishes. I'm not gonna drink that because we got plenty of drinking water, but that green pool water, I'm gonna try. Mostly a make work board project. Make a charcoal sand gravity filter, kind of for something to do. So, yeah, I'm gonna fill this bucket full of charcoal. It's got cloth in the bottom with some holes.
Daddy,
and I'm gonna make layers with the screens, and then the clean water is gonna go into this new bucket. So I'm gonna put a screen on top of that. I'm gonna put some sand, rocks, and gravel, and I'll check back and let you know if it's a success. It might be a complete waste of time, but we'll find out. All right, we're on to day 5. We had power restored. We did have power restored for 10 o'clock last night until about 10:30 today, so about 12 hours, maybe a little longer. And it just went out again, so I don't know if that was just an intermittent cutout so they can kind of remove some limbs from people's houses that have the mast tore off. I'm not sure, but we're into the cooking canned goods on the barbecue. So that said, when the power came on, the first thing we did was fill the tub up, thinking that this is probably not over. So that'll be the update for now. I'll check back hopefully at the end of this. I thought this was going to be the update that was going to be the end of this whole thing, like a summary, but we're still into it. All right, this is day 6. I think the worst is behind us. The power did, however, flicker momentarily several minutes ago. That said, I have the tub upstairs still filled up, but I have had a nice warm shower 2 consecutive days. Power came back on yesterday evening, just after I finished cooking on the camp stove, ironically, but anyway, it's back. So, couple things I want to leave you with if you find yourself in the path of a hurricane. Well, they're fresh in the tip of my mind. The obvious things, you know, like I just said, fill your tub up. If you can find a power inverter for like your power tool batteries or another small power bank, just to have something, if you're into camping and hiking, you might find it useful as kind of a secondary use, so you feel more justified if you're not really prone to as many storms. Some type of a power bank. Way to charge your phones, all that stuff. Don't rely on cell service. Our cell towers were not reliable. I did notice when the power went out for the second time that when I emptied my water, I kept it on hot and I was able to fill multiple sinks, multiple pots before the pressure stopped. So that might be a little tip. Use your hot water. It seems to last for some reason longer. If you can get something to power a TV for a while, whether that's to use some type of a gaming system, or if you have kids, some kids DVDs or something. After several days in pitch black, after, you know, it's now autumn, things get darker a little sooner, so pitch black when everybody's still awake, it's just boring and kind of depressing. So isn't the greatest thing to be dependent on television, computers. Our lives do kind of revolve around that stuff, and it does make it a lot less mundane and just makes things feel more at home and more relaxed to be able to have the TV going, where there could be no cell service like happened to us for a day or so, no data, what have you. Having a backup FM radio that you can put batteries in, we don't have one and we wish we did. We were in the dark, literally and figuratively, on what was going on with the whole hurricane. So if there's any type of emergency procedures or anything we should have been made aware of, there's a possibility we wouldn't have known because we had no communication unless we were to go sit in the car and turn the radio on. And that was one thing we had to resort to. Another thing would be maybe have some type of water filtration system, whether that's a Brita or some other way to filter some water, because after a while our bathtub run out. Luckily we had a swimming pool that we could fill the back of our toilets with, and I eventually did, as you saw, the DIY bucket filter. And I think with boiling the water, that was good enough to do some dishes in a pinch. Luckily, thankfully, the power came on right after that too, because I don't think my wife would have really been on board with that for too long. If you have a barbecue, if you have a chance, get propane tanks filled up, exchange, get barbecuable foods, canned foods. After a while, salty snacks, your storm chips get kind of just nasty of having the same, just feel like you're eating snacks and completely unhealthy for days, kind of wears on you. So it's nice to have a little bit of a variety because stuff will go bad in your fridge. But ice packs, lots of ice packs, crowd them around like your stuff, like your coffee cream, milk, stuff you want to keep that you need. I have a French press that was great for coffee. That's a good recommendation. A French press. The barbecue is great for making grilled cheese sandwiches. Bread seems to last. It started to get a little bit stale. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for keeping an eye on our situation and checking out this Hurricane Fiona with me. Hopefully something I've shared from this experience helps somebody. And I appreciate you sticking through to the end. I'll see you guys in the next one.